Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Kayla Cosmos. If you have been a regular viewer, welcome back, and if you are new to my channel, thank you for coming by. I'm a former English teacher turned digital nomad living here in Taiwan, and of course running this super awesome fun YouTube channel that if you want to keep up with, you should make sure that you hit that subscribe button. And if you're ready to learn all that there is to know about teaching English in Taiwan, hit that like button. In today's video, I'm going to be answering some common questions about what it's like to come to Taiwan and teach English. Like, should I go to a public school? Can I work in a Bushiban? Can I have tattoos? Stuff like that. Below in the description, you will see that there are timestamps outlining each question. So if there's a particular question that you came here for, you can just go straight to that question and not like sit here for, I don't know, the next 15-20 minutes, because this is going to be a long one. So before I get into the questions, I want to cover some of the school types that are here in Taiwan. In general, there are two types of schools in Taiwan: bushibans and public schools. There's also international schools, but I'm just going to put them in the blanket of public school because they typically run from like the same type of hours and have the same requirements. I think. I worked at a bushiban, and a bushiban is the English center or school that kids go to learn English after they've already been in school all day. Now let's get into the questions. I have kind of put them in a somewhat random, trying to make sense order, but there's so many questions it's hard to order them correctly. Nonetheless, let's just get right into it. So when it comes to working in a bushiban, you need to have a bachelor's degree. It doesn't matter what you studied, you just need a bachelor's degree. And then you also need a TEFL or TESOL certification in order to be accepted to teach English and get your work permit. As for public schools, you do need a 4-year degree, but it can be, again, in anything. But what you need to make sure that you have is an actual teaching license. A TEFL does not equal a teaching license. So this is where the big difference is between working in a bushiban and working in public schools. When it comes to programs teaching in Taiwan, there are two that I know of, and none of them are for bushibans. They are actually aimed towards public schools. There's actually the Fulbright program, which isn't actually work, although you do work in a school. Like, you don't actually need a teaching license in order to participate in the Fulbright program. The Fulbright program, they send fresh graduates from the United States to do things in different countries. Then there's another program called MO, and that is like the Ministry of Education, which actually helps bring English teachers to Taiwan. I will link that program below because I don't know a ton about it. For that though, you will definitely need a teaching license in order to get a job through that program. If you come to Taiwan and you don't have a teaching license, I think there is a program where you can get a teaching license in Taiwan. I try to do some research, and you can find the answer to that in the description below because I don't have it on my mind right now, but I will make sure that that question gets answered. So the best way to get a job in Taiwan, I would say that there's two ways. If you want to get a job perhaps through a program before you come here, then you can look at my last question or two questions before and think about those programs. But if you just want to come to Taiwan and find a job, you can absolutely just like show up and start looking for work like on the ground, because there are job forms. I will also list the different job forms in the description. You can contact schools, reach out to them, email them, pass out your resumes around different schools. Like, there's tons of schools that are looking for teachers. You can literally just show up and start looking for work. But with COVID, that's probably not so much the situation until the borders are going to be open. For now, the situation might not be the same. But if the borders are open, then come to Taiwan and just look for a job on the ground. You can absolutely do that. I did my research on chain bushibans before I came to Taiwan, such as Shane, Hess, Kojin, there's other ones. And I also had the opportunity to work for a moment with another bushiban. It was independent. Some things were just like really red flags, and I felt very uncomfortable there. And so while they were about to process my work permit, I was like, nah, I'm gonna be miserable if I stay here for the next year. bye, I'm not gonna stay here. So then I ultimately ended up actually going to work through Shane, and Shane schools actually own like 70 Shane schools in the country of Taiwan. So it's much more like managed and like set up to help you like learn their program. It was just much more useful to me, especially as a first-time English teacher here. And you know, they helped get me placed in a school. So I would suggest if you come to Taiwan, sure, you can go to independent schools that will just kind of like get you to learn the ropes somehow, or you can go through a chain school such as Shane or Hess that will probably have a more formal training. To be honest, I don't know about Hess, but that's how I got my job in Bushiban. They didn't place me in Bushiban, they offered to send me there, and I was like, you know what, cool, let's go there. When you're from the United States, the two primary things that you need to bring with you is your physical degree. Like, I literally have my tens of thousands of dollars degree with me here in Taiwan, packed it up, brought it over here, and I needed a physical FBI background check. And you want to get the background check like as late as possible. Like, you want to get it in time before you leave, but you want to get it as late as possible because when you get your work permit, they need it to be within the past 6 months. And if you come to Taiwan and you don't have that background check, then you're gonna have to mail your prints to the US from Taiwan. It's just gonna be a pain in the ass. So do your best to bring all of the documents that you're gonna need with you. With these documents, you might read like you need to have them translated into Chinese. You might need to have them like authorized by TICO. This is not so much the case. They will be translated into Chinese, but your school should help you translate those into Chinese so that when they send them to get your work permit and your ARC, they should do that for you. If they don't help you with that, then like that's probably not a school that's gonna be helpful and care about you as a teacher at all. So like make sure that your school is helping you with that process. When it comes to vacations, this once again is dependent upon the school. For example, because I was working in a Bushiban, when the kids were off for summer vacation, for winter vacation, I was still working. I never had an official vacation unless it was a very specific holiday or I asked for it. Now, when it comes to public schools, you do get those times off because there are breaks in the public school periods. As for pay, if you were at a Bushiban and you put in a request to take off a week, you're not gonna get paid. But with public schools, you do get paid, and it's because you're on a set salary. When it comes to housing, I have heard that public schools and international schools will help cover your housing. So that's a bonus there. When it comes to bushibans, no. Unless you end up like me when I went out to Bushiban and basically nobody wanted to go teach there. They did offer me a housing stipend, but in general, you're not gonna find bushibans offering housing stipends unless you're going to maybe like somewhere that's really remote where they think like, okay, we need extra incentive. Like for example, if you're trying to teach in Taipei at a Bushiban, like they're not gonna be like, let's give you a housing stipend to incentivize you to work with us, because they're gonna be able to find teachers because there's lots of people that are trying to live in Taipei. But if you're ending up in a case like mine, then there is a chance that you will be able to get a housing stipend. If you're curious about how to find an apartment in Taiwan, I've actually already made a video about this with a bunch of tips. So if you're curious about that, the link will be in the description, and there's tons of tips as to how I found my apartments in Taiwan. So you can go check that out, but please continue watching the rest of this video. Don't leave yet. Speaking from my experience, I would say having about 3,000 US dollars is safe to have, especially if you just land in Taiwan and you don't have a job and you might have to spend a month or 2 or 3 looking for a job. Then you're definitely gonna want at least between $2,000 to $3,000. Now, if you're coming over and you already have a job set up for you, then you're probably gonna be okay because you know you have a job when you get here. These numbers I named also do not include like flights. If there's a quarantine that may be required in the future, that is not what I'm including. This is just like basic, like you land in Taiwan and you start living right off the bat. This is the recommendation that I have for you. For me, I didn't have any Mandarin classes that were offered to me, but it's definitely easy for you to like find a Mandarin class, whether you want to find like a partner to practice with, if you want to like have an online person to help you practice. But in general, I wouldn't expect schools to have a program for their teachers to help them learn Chinese. Some may offer this, but when I was looking for work, it definitely wasn't something that I noticed was a normal thing. I don't have any personal experience with this, but I did find this article that I'm going to link in the description below as well. It's from 3 years ago, so I'm not sure how accurate it is, but from what I'm understanding, you need to be a student, and with that you are allowed to work a maximum of 20 hours a week while you are studying full-time. So I would say that if you're a teacher, you can enroll in courses, but like you can't like go on for a full master's degree unless you're getting your master's degree and you're willing to, you know, work less hours. So that is what I've taken from this article that I read. I've linked it below, and you can definitely do more research on that. And yeah. All right, now this is one thing that I was actually pretty kind of concerned about when I was thinking about coming to Taiwan. You know, I'd considered Japan, I considered Korea, and I knew like in my research it seemed like a big no-no to have any tattoos or strange hair colors. Like if you have a tattoo, like cover it, like it can't be seen, right? So I was slightly nervous thinking about it when it came to Taiwan. In reality, I think it is something that they are more relaxed about, but it depends on the school. Like, to be honest, it really depends on the school. For example, the first Bushiban that I did work at, one of my coworkers, she had like silver purple hair. She had like tattoos on her wrists that were showing like all the time. At that school, they didn't seem to care as much. At my school, when I initially signed on with Shane, like, you know, they were like, you should be covering your tattoos. When I was teaching, I would sometimes wear like sandals. I would wear a t-shirt that actually showed the back of this tattoo. So with this, it comes down to the school. I would say that if you're working for like an independent Bushiban that doesn't have like, you know, a huge headquarters with more guidelines, then it's probably going to be a little bit more relaxed. In general, you can definitely have tattoos in Taiwan. You can definitely have some hair dye in Taiwan, but I would also, you know, shop around and apply it like multiple places and kind of get the vibes for different schools. Because if you do have tattoos and then you go to a school and you realize like, oh, they seem like my tattoos are going to be a problem, then yeah, your tattoos may not make you eligible for the job. If you go and apply somewhere else and you have an interview and stuff and they don't seem to care about tattoos, or you notice maybe like other teachers that are like walking around or something that have tattoos, then like it might not be a big deal. All right, y'all, it is time to wrap up this video. Oh my goodness, that was a lot. If you have any other questions, leave them in a comment below and I will address them. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel if you want to learn more about what my life is like here in Taiwan. Thank you so much for watching the video, and I will see you next time. Peace.